Naruto exclusive videos Lemon come out on my Boosty. You can watch and subscribe. Part 2 of the video is already out on Boosty absolutely free. Link in the description, like the video and write a comment, enjoy watching. Description: Naruto finally understood. He was only needed to fulfill the prophecy. In this world, in this place, at this time, no one else needed him for anything, so why should he be there? But Hagoromo, seeing the pain of his son who did not receive love in his entire life, decided to change this by throwing Naruto into an alternate past. But who said that everything would be so simple? Chapter 9. Advancement. I always considered myself a true kunoichi. I said that I loved Sasuke-kun, scolded you, thought that I was better than you. But I still always remained in the rear. And you always protected and loved me. Now I ask, if you really loved me, give up this life, because Sasami taught me not to be afraid of death. The only thing that scared me was living in inaction. I can't watch you slowly kill yourself with this lifestyle. Pull yourself together, Shinaro. Sakura Haruno. But Sama-sama, we sent an eagle to Uzushio. I think they will send a search party here soon, the brown-eyed brunette said crisply, approaching the head of the Senju clan and reporting this news. Understood, Kenji, thank you, but Sama nodded in response, not taking his eyes off the map. What are you going to do? Asked Kenji, also looking at the map. The Namikaze did not help us in the war, why did we let them go? What if they tell our enemies from Hagoromo and Uchiha about some secrets? They will not tell, Hashirama's father waved his hand. According to my children's reports, Naruto does not like the Uchiha, and as for helping in the war, they have already helped us with techniques, and this has a good effect on the battlefield. At least we calmly confront two strong clans. But, Kenji wanted to put in his word. No buts. But Sama said sullenly, don't bother me, I'm trying to predict where the next battle will be, and where the Uchiha will want to attack. We also need to set traps. You're free. Hi. What do you say to San? Asked a well-built, scarlet-haired man with black eyes. His eyebrows were now furrowed, showing extreme thoughtfulness. He was dressed in a regular gray shinobi outfit with armor on it. Opposite him sat an older man. He was covered in wrinkles and gray hair. He was also wearing a gray shinobi outfit with armor, but behind him lay two swords. They were in an office, but they were sitting on empty sofas, and between them was a small table with tea and cookies. The men were calmly drinking tea and discussing the clan's news. According to Butsuma-kun's report, two half-breed Uzumakis who know the secrets of our clan have begun to live near them. The old man muttered thoughtfully. His attitude towards the head of Senju Ikizoku was calmly explained by the fact that the gray-haired man had been a good ally of Senju since the time of Butsuma's grandfather, Ashina Uzumaki, the head of the Uzumaki clan, and at the same time an advisor to his son, who took on the burden of the first Uzukage of Uzushio and the daimyo of Yuzuno-kuni, and also from the Namikaze clan. Very interesting. Our scouts reported that they found another Namikaze family in the Land of Lightning, parents and two children. We can interest them with this information. We can't drag them by force, because we were given information about their high level of Jukuken mastery. Do you want to recruit them? Ashina's son, Takashi Uzumaki, was surprised. A man who was able to unite all the Uzumaki and create a village, and also slowly gather his scattered clanmates from the continent into this same village. This man is truly a genius of fuinjutsu and ninjutsu. In these areas of shinobi in the whole world he is second only to his father, and only in experience, so you can't consider him a weak person. However, he has weaknesses, family and village, so he worries about these Namikaze. What if they betray us? It's a piece of cake for them to leave the island, because as you said, they can teleport from here. You've seen the data on their character, haven't you? Ashina chuckled, smiling slightly. Such people do not betray. They say right away that they don't want to work, but they will never stick a kunai in the back. Trust my 90 years of experience. But if anything, just in case, you will have the opportunity to check it. And that's true. Takashi chuckled, understanding what his father was talking about. Who should we send after them? If you look at the map, you can only get to them through the Uchiha. It's very dangerous. Or you need to go around, through the villages of mercenaries and Nuknin. Send my granddaughter, Ashina said seriously, stopping his good-natured smile. She has almost no ninja experience. Although she's almost 18, send her by roundabout routes so as not to meet the Uchiha and Hagoromo. She needs to gain this experience from all sorts of clan renegades and free ninja that her team will meet along the way. Choose a group of 3 people with her. A large number of people will attract unnecessary attention, and we absolutely do not need that. You're right, Tusan. Mito-chan should have left the island a long time ago. Takashi nodded, looking through the list of free, sufficiently classified shinobi for this mission. Then, having chosen the 3 most suitable, he continued the conversation. What do you say about the Jikuken ninjutsu of those children? After all, this branch of ninjutsu is as complex and dangerous as our Fuinjutsu and Juinjutsu. Ashina asked himself this question dozens of times after the report. A master of Jikuken at 13? It's funny, no matter how smart he was, he himself would not have come up with such techniques if seriously, then most likely, in their archive and secrets these techniques appeared recently. Because if the Namikaze knew the techniques of movement, then the slow demon Yambi would not have been able to destroy their clan. On the other hand, these twins couldn't have invented these techniques themselves, which means they were taught by someone older before they met Senju. Ashina closed his eyes and smiled, sipping his tea. Do you want them to settle here? Ashina's son asked point blank, which made the old man open his eyes and look at Takashi. And if so, how do you see it? I mean, they need to be connected to the village somehow. I won't do anything, Matochka will do it. Ashina smiled slyly, and even then, I would like to become a great-grandfather already. Really, you? Takashi picked up his father's thought and stood up from his seat, looking at his father in disbelief. No. I won't give them my daughter. Firstly, we don't even know this Naruto. Secondly, he and the blonde are most likely already a couple, because the reports say that they have a close relationship. Thirdly, I want my grandchildren to be purebred Uzumaki, so that they can lead Uzushio. The same Makoto will be a good son-in-law. Makoto is a bad choice. The old man winced. He has a high ego, not as high as the Uchiha, but still, it can come back to haunt us in his great ambitions, and for this he will not disdain to go over the heads of his clansmen. It is dangerous to give such a person power. And about Naruto, regarding the first one, we relatively know his character from papers, and we will have time to see him in real life. Regarding the second one, well, what can I say? The boy was lucky. He needs a blonde to restore the clan, so there will be 2. And regarding the third one, at Takashi, you yourself know that only purebred Uzumaki are born from a half-breed and a purebred. The maximum they will take from their father is the main element, eye color, and if any, Kekei Genkai. Do you really think Makoto is a bad choice? Takashi looked thoughtfully out the window, and then winced, remembering this cheerful, but cruel guy. Mentally, he agreed with his father and praised his wisdom and insight, because Takashi was already thinking about making Makoto his successor. Okay, son, I'm going to your mother. The gray-haired man grinned. You know how they don't like being late, and you send a squad quickly, before the blondes run away. See you later, father, the crimson-haired man sighed. The next day, Naruko sighed sadly, looking at the already empty clearing and remembering the last few years of her life. It was fun to live here, communicate with Naruto, swim in the pool or the river, sit in a hot spring, spend time in a large library, where you study something new for hours, and then train using the studied material. Live for your own joy. Improve yourself and do not worry about anything. Hey, Naruko! I called out, seeing her state. Although what am I doing? This is really a little sad. We are going to your mother's homeland, so hurry up. No time to be sad. Yes, Naruto, I'm sorry. By the way, how are we going to move? She decided to ask, and there was a plea in her eyes, and she knows that I cannot refuse her. Okay, I gave in under the pressure of puppy eyes. We will use the summoning only in the Senju territories. We will go roundabout ways with the Uchiha and from there to the maelstrom. Yes. This loud girl squealed and joyfully began to hug me, and then, jumping back, began to fold the summoning seals. Biting her finger, she shouted summoning technique. Akira, a cheetah 3 meters high, rose from a puff of smoke. It had a standard coloring, but its distinguishing feature was a scar on its left eye. Hello, Akira, I nodded. He also nodded in response, and then leaned down to let Naruto scratch him behind the ear. Can we use you as a transport for movement? Or should I summon someone else? No, Naruto-sama, Naruko-heim. I am more than enough to carry you. Jump on and tell me the way. Naruko and I jumped on the cheetah with the help of chakra and sat comfortably. I sat in front, holding the cheetah by the fur. It will not hurt or be uncomfortable for him, since this is a summoned animal and his body is stronger. And Naruko sat behind and hugged me across the waist, burying her nose in my back. Come on, Akira! Naruko shouted cheerfully, and the cheetah rushed at high speed to the place where I pointed. Everything was calm on the way. Because of the high speed, those who saw us did not have time to see who it was, and what kind of animal ran past them. But at one point I felt the Uchiha chakra from the front, so I decided not to risk it. Stop, Akira, I ordered. Naruko did not understand me. It seems she did not sense the Uchiha, and you cannot show off the summoning in front of them. You should not show off in front of them at all. However, we need to look into the nearest village for reliable information about Uzushio. The cheetah obediently stopped, after which we jumped off him. Then I thanked him and asked him to unwind. Why? Naruko asked me sullenly, looking at me with an offended look. I involuntarily smiled and patted her on the head, showing that everything was fine and there was no need to worry. I do not remember the exact road to Uzushio. We will go to the nearest village and find out from there about Uzumaki. Naruko frowned even more. She understands that this is not a good excuse, so I had to whisper to her, there is an Uchiha squad in front. I think someone is waiting in ambush. I understand. She nodded, and her facial features smoothed out, and then she cheerfully grabbed me and began to drag me towards a small village. Even from a great distance, it was clear that the village was rather shabby. Frequent raids by bandits, Nukenin and clan shinobi had not gone in vain. However, we did not care about this. We were interested in accurate information about Uzushio. In my world I found her thanks to the fact that the illusory barriers disappeared, but now I can get confused, and even then, about 10 years have passed since then, and I do not remember her location. Walking into the bar, we saw several mercenaries. After all, it is also a place to receive missions from some customers, so it is not surprising, but their devouring gaze on my Naruko infuriated me, and I involuntarily began to release my ki. Feeling it, the mercenaries immediately sat down and stopped looking at us, and Naruko, to calm me down, squeezed my hand. It helped, and I, closing my eyes, rolled up my thirst for murder, and then began to walk towards the bartender. Hello, do you need something? Asked a short man with gray eyes and brown hair. Nothing remarkable, and Henge is not felt, so I relaxed and ordered some sake. Naruko wanted red wine. It will be ready soon. The bartender nodded and began to prepare drinks right in front of us. By the way, I decided to sort out the information right away, because I have a bad feeling. Do you have information about the village of Uzumaki or Uzushio? The bartender's eyes flashed, and he nodded slightly. Information about the scarlet-haired ones is expensive these days. How much? 20,000 ryo, he said after examining us. In principle it is not surprising. You can see clan shinobi in us. We are not dressed like mercenaries in dirty rags. Naruko and I have about the same top and bottom, with the symbol of a three-pronged kunai with lightning inside. Although the symbol does not tell many anything about our affiliation, however, due to the presence of at least some symbol on our clothes. Other shinobi are afraid of us. 15,000 maximum, I said evenly and looked at the bartender with my look, after which even Anbu could not squeak, because of which he immediately swallowed all his indignation. Why yes, together with drinks it will still be 20,000 ryo, he nodded, holding out our drinks, and in response I took out the amount and threw it to him. His eyes even sparkled. I had to mention the agreement to him. He quickly hid the money and nodded. In the last few years, the Uzumaki have stirred and started looking for their clanmates. Only they can take you to the village. But if you want to be guaranteed to see them, go to the port city of Osaka. There is a trading market for these red-haired devils. It's in the west of the land of fire. Thank you. I nodded to him in gratitude, slowly washing down my sake. However, I almost choked when I saw several shinobi with the Uchiha clansman enter the bar along with 17-year-old Madara. How did I not sense them? Chapter 10. Save. Dobe. The other side of any bond is pain, and now you know what it's like to feel pain, the pain that tears these bonds. But also you, the one who opened my eyes and helped me survive the pain of loss. I would like to help you with this too, but you have other people who are ready to lend you a helping hand. Do not push them away, Uzuritanki. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto and I exchanged glances. What is Madara Uchiha doing here? Naruto saw my memories, so she roughly understood what kind of person he was. And if Taijima sent his son here, then something important should happen here. This is already interesting, and I would like to see it. In general, it is worth watching Madara so that he leads me to Black Zetsu, and I finish him off and do not allow that war to happen, where all my loved ones died. This war should not exist, and I will take care of it. However, the Uchihas didn't even honor us with their arrogant glance. Only one checked us for henge with his own eyes, and that's it. Naruto and I calmly drank our drinks, occasionally glancing at them. After all, we often visited the Senju settlement, and you never know, maybe someone saw us with them. However, everything went fine. Another Uchiha came and said something to Madara. He nodded and left with his henchmen, and as soon as the Uchihas left, all the mercenaries and the bartender himself breathed a sigh of relief, making me smile. And then I realized who that Uchiha messenger saw. Because of this my eyes widened. Naruto, quickly finish drinking and drive away the chakra so that there is no intoxication. We will most likely have to fight. Got it, she nodded. During all this time, she began to trust me completely without unnecessary questions. Uchihas? And because of what? She asked when we had already left that bar. Yes, Uchiha, their target was Uzumaki. This is our chance to appease the red-haired ones, and also our ticket to Uzushio. We act covertly. I don't want those red-eyed ones to realize that we took Uzumaki away from them. Then it's clear, Naruto said. I agree with you, we don't need problems. As soon as we reached the battlefield of the Uchiha and Uzumaki, we saw that the scarlet-haired were in a deplorable state. They were fighting 4 against 6, one of which was Madara. He was playfully fighting off one, kicking the second one along the way, while the rest of the Uchiha were supporting him, or fighting with the remaining red-haired. Mito-sama! One scarlet-haired Uzumaki shouted. Already 2 of their group were seriously injured, and now he saw how a fire dragon flew at high speed in the clan's him, and he categorically did not have time to save the princess of the clan. However, a second before the fire dragon swallowed her with a roar, a 3-bladed kunai stuck into the ground, and then someone appeared near it and disappeared along with her. The Uchihas also saw this and were surprised no less than he was. However, they were not given time to come to their senses. The same kunai stuck near the aloe-haired ones, and then people appeared again and, grabbing Uzumaki, disappeared, without even leaving those kunai. This happened so quickly that even the 3-volume Sharingans did not have time to record the rescuers. What just happened? One of the brunettes was surprised. Idiot! Madara roared. Tosama will be unhappy, who launched a fire dragon at a girl. She could have become father's concubine. I don't even know if we were lucky that she was saved or not. Look for her and those who saved them. We can't miss them. If you do not find them, you yourself will report to Tosama. Hi, Madara-sama. The remaining 5 Uchiha nodded and ran to look for Uzumaki. Who are you? Asked the only scarlet-haired girl in a group of 4 people. They had just been hidden in a cave with barriers and seals. 2 of her comrades with wounds were lying nearby, and one blonde girl was fussing around them, and the second blonde was sitting quietly and waiting for something incomprehensible. Are you those half-breeds Uzumaki? Naruto and Naruto, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you for saving me, the girl said to the surprised blondes and bowed in gratitude. The man standing next to her did the same. You're welcome, I answered, looking at these Uzumaki. The thought that the Senju had sent everything about us to these red-haired ones was beating like an alarm in my head. Yes, our names are Naruto and Naruto Namikaze. What are you doing in these lands? Have you really come to look for us? Yes, my name is Mito Uzumaki, his Ichiro Uzumaki, the wounded Iochi Uzumaki and Shin Uzumaki. We came here as a search party. We wanted to invite you to Uzushio on a voluntary basis. After all, you have our blood in you. Mito smiled politely. to which I chuckled. Is this really the same Mito Uzumaki, Shodame's wife? She looks beautiful, without those buns on her head and with a regular high ponytail. Strange, why would they invite members of another clan, even if half of our blood is Uzumaki, and why on earth should we go there? I decided to play the role of a skeptic in order to understand their intentions. To protect the homeland of one of your ancestors, Mito said calmly, even now, when she is all in the mud and her comrades are wounded, her posture is perfect, and the words she said sound majestic, and she just radiates stateliness and pride of a great clan. It is admirable, and we have interesting information about your clanmates, and you were once an allied clan, if I'm not mistaken. About the clanmates in more detail, I said seriously, most likely they are our ancestors from this world. We need to save them and take them with us to Uzushio. After all, this is the best choice for living in the present time. I do not have this information. I only know that Tasan and Jisan have information about one Namikaze's family. So what have you decided about our offer? I need to think about this with my sister. It's good that they invited us, otherwise it would have been suspicious if we came ourselves. I approached my sister and told her everything. Her eyes sparkled at the words about our ancestors and she immediately agreed. Forgive me, Mito-san, my sister approached the crimson-haired one. Your people will only get back on their feet in a day. Are you willing to wait for them? No, Ichiro, seal them, and we will set off immediately. Mito said sternly. She looked no more than 18, and her commanding tone was so strong that even I jerked to obey. But I pulled myself back in time. They will be quickly cured in our hospital. I see, Naruto nodded, and then turned to me with a pleading look in her eyes. So again, why did I have to do all this? Okay, we'll go on a call, I had to sigh, but Mito raised an eyebrow. You and I will go on our call. They are fast, so you don't have to worry, no one will catch us, and as for confidentiality, we won't meet the Uchiha anymore, since we crossed their borders. The girl chuckled and nodded, giving her consent. I almost started clapping my hands. For the first time I see help accepted so majestically, it can't be described in words. Naruto saw this and her eyes flashed angrily. I had to raise my hands roughly, otherwise you never know what she might get up to. Summoning technique. Kaidashin. I shouted, quickly folding my hands and biting my thumb. A large cheetah twice the size of Akira appeared in a cloud of white smoke. It had a proud look, and was light red with black spots, as if it had bathed in rivers of blood before moving here. Yo, can you help? Of course, Naruto. Do you need to be transferred? The cheetah asked, looking at the aloe-haired ones. When will you summon me to the battlefield? Well, I scratched the back of my head, coming up with an excuse. All our opponents are not strong enough to call you, but I will definitely summon you at the first good opportunity. Pfft, he snorted, showing his opinion about this, but obediently crouched down, allowing us to calmly climb on him. Naruto, you're first, I'll sit second, Mito third, and Ichiro will sit last, Naruto stated categorically. I just had to nod, otherwise don't let Kami start beating me here. After all, now I'm her man, the owner who doesn't want to share me with anyone. After everyone sat down, as Naruto said, we rushed towards the sea at high speed. The Uzumaki, who did not expect this, almost fell, but managed to catch on with the help of chakra. We rode fast on the cheetah, but in the evening we had to stop for the night. We were already 10 kilometers from the city of Osaka and settled in a small clearing near a stream. Mito and Ichiro had to put up barriers while I went for brushwood, and Naruto set up camp with tents. Fortunately we had food, we just needed to heat it up. So you came only for us? I decided to dispel the awkward silence. The four of us were already sitting around the fire and slowly consuming food. Will you not feel bad if a new clan appears on your islands? I don't think that Tasan and Gigi will feel bad if an albeit dead, but allied clan moves to us. I see, I thought, but this is an idea, to gather as many clans as possible to protect the maelstrom. Take the same Chinoike. They were recently driven into the Valley of Hell, where they are trying to survive. In general, there are a lot of noble clans here that have not survived to this day, so we need to remember this idea. And will they accept us? Asked Naruto. We are still half-breeds, and even then, not from your clan. Of course, Naruto-heim, we do not care how much your Uzumaki blood is diluted. As long as you have it, you are our family. But if you betray us, "You are our eternal enemies," smiled Mito, and Naruto chuckled at her eloquence. "We do not tolerate betrayal, so I ask you to refrain from this." "We're not going to betray Uzumaki or Uzushio," I snorted. "We can't give them a reason to worry." But the girl blushed and turned away after my words. I looked at Naruto in bewilderment, but she only shook her head angrily. "Okay, good night, it's getting dark," said Haim of the Uzumaki clan, running into her tent, and indeed, it was already dark. "The barriers will let us know about the enemy, if there are any, and they hide us well," so Naruto and I went into our tent, leaving Ichiro to put out the fire. Chapter 11. Arrival. I know firsthand what it's like to lose people you love. So you and I are both not very happy people, that's a fact. But luck can't turn away completely. Maybe it's just late, lost on the road of life, maybe not. Naruto, you're exactly like my life, so I'll give you some advice. I once withdrew into myself, but my friends helped me. Maybe if I pushed them away like Sasuke, I would never have died happy and calm. So Naruto, as your sensei, I give you one last task: make friends and become as happy as you can, and good luck to you. Hatake Kakashi Night. The clearing where the four shinobi were located was quiet and peaceful. Only Mito, Haim of the great Uzumaki clan, daughter of the current Uzukage and granddaughter of the head of the Uzumaki clan, could not sleep. Her head was troubled by thoughts about this task. First, a routine search mission that is carried out once every few months. Then a skirmish with a clearly strong enemy, where they were destined to die, and a mysterious rescue. She still remembered the shock she felt when she saw the fire dragon that was supposed to burn her, and she remembered how she was saved, and in such a strange way. In a moment she was already 200 meters away from the battlefield, and then in another moment her comrades were next to her, and only then, coming to her senses, she realized that they were saved by those half-breeds of Uzumaki that she was supposed to bring. And here several questions arise. How did the Uchiha know about the squad? Why did her father and grandfather send Mito, who was only entering the continent for the first time, on such a dangerous mission? And were they sure that these Namikes would save the squad? She slapped her cheeks with her palms and decided to go out and wash her face, otherwise she couldn't get that blonde guy out of her head. After all, the empathy of the main branch of the clan is a good thing, and you can understand who is lying and who is not. And today, when Naruto said that they would not betray Uzushio, there was so much confidence in his words and not a drop of lies that Mito would have believed him even without empathy. Before that she had not seen anyone who was so confident in themselves. In general, all of Naruto's words were confident. This man knew what he wanted from life and from the people around him, a true heir of the clan and a strong man. It is not shameful to submit to such a person. With this thought she slapped herself on the cheeks again and lowered her hands into the water to wash herself. After washing herself, she went up to the tents again, and then she noticed a small soundproof barrier around Naruto and Naruto's tent, which wasn't there before. Mito herself didn't know why, but she really wanted to open the barrier. Fortunately her skills allowed her to do it as skillfully as only the Uzumaki could. Maybe she was driven by curiosity, or maybe by suspicions about those two, you never know. They were talking about destroying Uzushio now. Still, she decided to open the barrier so that they wouldn't feel that the barrier wasn't working. Approaching the tent, she immediately began to break the fuse so that there was an appearance of work. But the barrier itself wasn't working, and as soon as the barrier barely clicked, she heard this. "Oh, Naru, you're beautiful. I'm coming!" Naruto screamed. Mito's eyes widened. She hurried to restore the barrier with trembling hands, until Ichiro woke up and ran here. Because of this she began to mix up the seals and, spitting, simply replaced the barrier with a normal one, removing the old one and putting up an identical one. Still in a state of shock, she whispered, "What was that?" And then, coming to her senses, she decided to hurry to the tent. Her cheeks were burning with fire, and now she did not know how to look at these two. No, she had nothing against it. However, knowing is one thing, and hearing how it is done nearby is another. The image of a handsome naked blonde guy with blue eyes did not leave her head, because of which she slapped herself on the cheeks several times already. Only after 2 hours she more or less calmed down, and fell asleep. before going to bed, swearing never to remove sound barriers for personal use. In the morning, the only one who didn't get enough sleep was Mito Uzumaki, but thanks to Naruko's medical chakra, she came to her senses. It's strange, it seemed like there was enough time to rest, but she had dark circles under her eyes. After getting ready, we decided to go without a call. After all, 10 kilometers for a shinobi is ridiculous, so we got to the city in 8 to 10 minutes of running along the upper tracks. The city itself was decent, people were bustling about everywhere, there were Uzumaki shops along the edges of the street, there were bars, brothels, hotels and so on, but it was the ships that attracted me. Why were they here if Uzushio was located among large whirlpools? And even then, when I went there in the past, that is, for this world in the future, it doesn't matter. Then there was a bridge, a huge bridge that was built several decades ago by one Uzumaki, who with the help of his Kekkei Genkai steel strengthened it so that it would not collapse under the pressure of the whirlpools. Is it normal to sail a ship through large whirlpools? I decided to dispel the silence in this way. Mito perked up, but did not look in my direction. You will see everything, Ichiro promised us with a predatory smile. I, like Naruko, only raised an eyebrow skeptically at this gesture. However, Naruko was not up to it. She was turning her head from side to side, looking at the houses and buildings. Still, it is quite beautiful here, and the blue sea gives a certain atmosphere to this place. We forgot to send the eagle to Uzushio, Mito calmly said, looking at Ichiro. He slapped his forehead. Naruto-san, Naruko-heim, we will have to put a specific chakra-blocking seal on you. It is put on prisoners and the barrier lets them through. We usually send the eagle to Uzushio so that they meet us and open the barrier for those who are here for the first time. Can we put this seal on you? We looked at each other, and then, shrugging our shoulders, nodded, giving our consent. Such an easy permission to go on a hike greatly surprised Uzumaki, because Ichiro opened his mouth for a few seconds, trying to say something, but then he just shut up and began to put these seals on us. So simple? He finally asked. We only chuckled in agreement. We have no reason to distrust you. If Butsuma-san sent our real data, then Yuzukage-sama would not have sent his daughter and only 3 wards to eliminate us. And even then, we did not commit a crime against Uzushio and are not her missing nin. Well, you're right, but still, you agreed too easily. The crimson-haired man squinted playfully. It seems to me that this was a plan. So, Naruko barked. It seems she is starting to get annoyed with this Uzumaki. I wouldn't be surprised if she puts him down without chakra. After all, she shouldn't be angered on these days. Don't piss me off. If you don't want us to go there, remove the seal and get out of here. I apologize, Naruko-heim. I understand you. Ichiro bowed low several times, but his eyes gave him away. He was playing with her. He likes to piss people off, like Uzumaki. She is vindictive. She got it from our mother. And with her brilliant mind and sophisticated methods of revenge, I do not envy you, I whispered in his ear, but he shuddered, imagining this very revenge. After all, she is still considered an Uzumaki woman, even though she is a half-breed. Enough! Mito's imperious and cold voice rang out and we had to hide, because Naruko and I are no longer in a position to grin. Ichiro, bring up the rear of our group. Naruto-san, Naruko-heim, follow me. I had to obey and slowly follow the aloe-haired one. We were heading towards the shore. I told you. There should be a bridge somewhere here that leads straight towards the island, but we couldn't see anything, only the sea, when suddenly I felt like we passed through something semi-liquid and barely perceptible, after which my eyes opened up to that very bridge. It was about 8 meters wide and went to the island, which was very clearly visible. At a glance you can give 10 kilometers of the way. But then, my consciousness suddenly faded, and these feelings were not similar to losing consciousness or fainting. You only feel this when you are sealed. Ichiro, send our wounded to the hospital, and I will go to my father to report on the mission. Mito calmly walked into the village. Receiving small bows from her clanmates, she also nodded in response, jumping onto the roof of the building so as not to be distracted by the people. Hi, Mito-sama, Ichiro said into the void and also jumped, only this time in the direction of the hospital. At this time, the girl was already near the residence. This building was 2-story, but there was also a 3rd floor underground, There was the great library of the clan and its archives. On the first floor was the administration, and on the second floor was the office of the head of the village and the office of the head of the clan. In the residence, Mito was calmly allowed to the second floor, because they knew whose daughter she was. There they even congratulated her on the completed mission and treated her to sweets. And she, with sweets in her hands and in a slightly elevated mood, entered her father's office, without even knocking. "Ohio, to-san!" Mito sat down on the chair opposite her father, who in turn was happy about the appearance of his only daughter, and not only that, he would have a good reason to take a break from the pile of papers that filled his desk. "Hi, Matochka!" Takeshi yawned widely. Mito couldn't help but yawn in response, covering her mouth with her hand, and then they laughed loudly together. It relieved the tension of the last few days perfectly. Chapter 12. Father. You know, people should talk to each other. At least a little. Otherwise, their hearts become dark. By talking to people, you gain bonds, and thanks to this, you do not regret living in this world. That's how people are. Although you know this, because this is what I taught you, however, you begin to close yourself off, which saddens me. Don't do this, because I want to see you happy, Gaki. Hermit Jiraiya. It was quiet in the forest today, too quiet. Hashirama's skin had been covered in goosebumps for half an hour. Today he was the main sentry on the eastern border, and now his sixth sense was screaming about danger, but his charges were behaving calmly, naively believing that the Uchiha, who bordered the Senju in the east, would not attack so soon. After all, they had only recently been crushed on the battlefield. Hashirama saw something in the leaves out of the corner of his eye. Did it seem like movement? An animal, maybe? He strained, trying to listen even harder. Goosebumps ran down his spine. Did you hear that the Uchiha drove Chinoike Ikizoku to the Valley of Hell? Maybe we could form an alliance with them and fuck those very Uchiha? Otherwise they're a lot of… Senju Toshio didn't finish his sentence, as Hashirama pulled him aside, relying on his exceptional senses. And this time it didn't let him down. It's a pity Shijo couldn't be saved. He was pierced by several kunai, one of which pierced his forehead. "We're under attack, eastern border!" Hashirama shouted, adding chakra to his vocal cords. The village would definitely hear him. 10 minutes and the Senju would be here. However, he didn't know the number and strength of the attackers, so they had to retreat anyway. "Your mother," Taijima Uchiha hissed, rushing after the 17-year-old Senju. This Hashirama had ruined so many of his plans. If it weren't for his wood style and exceptional shinobi abilities, the Uchihas would have won, so they had to get rid of him quickly before he became even stronger and prevented the Uchihas from winning for the Senju's heads. Madara and the rest of the Uchiha ran out after him. Katon, great fireball. Madara blew out a huge flame, simultaneously examining the Senju who had fallen under the technique. He didn't know him, however. The one who had fallen under the fire would definitely die. Shifting his gaze to Hashirama, Madara saw how he was desperately fighting against several shinobi and moving towards his own. He was the main target of the Uchiha, because he was not inferior to Madara, and what can we say if Madara had already surpassed his father in strength, but not Hashirama, whose strength was growing exponentially, and in the lands of Hai no Kuni his ability to the wood style was simply frightening. Therefore, Taijima Uchiha wanted to personally wring the neck, whose father deprived Taijima of 3 children and a wife. But there is no time to waste on empty dreams, and quickly deal with him. However, here, other Senju suddenly appeared and began to help the heir, although the Senju were completely unprepared and strategically defeated, but they repelled the attacks of the Uchiha successfully, because these were their lands covered with forests. Suetun, heavenly cry. Tobirama spat out a couple of water needles, using the technique that Naruto taught him, but Madara managed to dodge all the senbons, thanks to the 3-volume Sharingan, and was advancing on the younger heir. But Sama and Taijima were fighting furiously nearby, not inferior to each other in the art of wielding a sword. Screams were heard in the distance. Everywhere there was a smell of blood, burnt flesh and burning. Katon, Song of Fire Dragons. Madara blew out several huge dragons, which began to twist and rushed at Tobirama with a roar. "Futon breakthrough!" shouted nearby. Madara immediately recognized this voice and grinned. Izuna came as always on time, not in the thick of things, but to finish off. The fire dragons swelled even more, sweeping away all the slow senju who found themselves in the way. Unfortunately, Tobirama was already wounded in the side, and the Uchiha hoped that Hashirama would finally take off his rose-colored glasses after the death of his brother, because he was still trying to stop the war and create a common village. Tobirama, however, could not concentrate well to move the Hiraishin, because the aching pain pulsated every time, and inexperience in the technique did not help to teleport, so the platinum-haired man folded the tiger seal and shouted, Suetun, Great Water Dragon! Literally without a single source, a huge water dragon appeared from the ground, but this technique did not stand in power with the combined technique of the two brothers, so Tobirama could not stop the technique and waited for his death, closing his eyes. I will not allow even a finger to touch my brother, roll away from him. Tobirama's ears heard, and when he opened his eyes, he saw a wooden clone of his brother, who used the Mokutan technique, protecting him. Hashirama himself was able to take Madara into a grip with his wooden techniques so that he could not even use a replacement. And then he attacked Izuna, who rolled away from the same technique and entered into a sword fight, where he was losing badly. Madara saw Hashirama defeating him and soon killing Izuna, and for the first time he was overcome by panic, and this panic was for his brother. But all this was interrupted by Tobirama's piercing scream and loud gasps from all sides. "Tasan!" Turning there, he saw how his father finally killed his old opponent, piercing his chest in the heart area. Taijima Uchiha tried to get Hashirama in the heat of battle with his sword, sending a fireball at Butsuma so that he could not interfere with him. However, Butsuma, no matter how cold he tried to seem in front of his sons, could not help but love his children, and the death of his third son would force him to surrender. He would no longer be able to raise a weapon, and therefore he could not allow Hashirama to die in front of him, not him and Tobirama. Therefore he decided on a desperate step, jumped right into the Uchiha's fireball and exposed himself to the blow, protecting Hashirama with his body. Hashirama couldn't believe his eyes. His father, the man who was so dear to him, who always criticized his desire for peace, died before his eyes, protecting him, and Hashirama swears that he heard his father's words before he died. "I love you." This man, being Hashirama's family, was so dear to him, so thoughts of his death filled his head. A veil of incredible rage, despair, and pain squeezed his temples and clouded his mind. He just looked at his father, not believing what was happening. At the same time, the Uchiha began to retreat, because they, albeit indirectly, achieved their goal, and the Senju regrouped and began to take their own, so Taijima gave the command to retreat. For some reason, it was hard for Madara to look at the broken and depressed Hashirama. It was also hard for him only when he saw Izuna crying, who had lost his beloved girl, as if he was his younger brother, and when Hashirama turned his empty gaze to the Uchiha, he shuddered. "Look around," Hashirama said calmly. This phlegmatic calm of a usually decisive and cheerful person was frightening. But looking around, Madara noticed dozens of corpses of people, each mourning their relatives, someone a sister, someone a father or brother, someone their child or love. "Is this what you wanted when you renounced the world?" These words became like a slap in the face. He definitely did not want this for his clan and his loved ones. Although he understood the reason for his refusal. "You always wanted revenge on my clanmates, and maybe you will come to your senses as soon as you taste this same revenge," Hashirama said furiously. His body trembled from the power he released, and his hands folded in a prayer gesture, and suddenly the ground under his feet began to vibrate. Madara watched with fascinated eyes as a rather large statue appeared from under the ground, around which many hands spread out. Mokutan, hundred-handed truth of Buddha. Everything happened too quickly to come to his senses. At one moment the hands around the statue began to hit Taijima Uchiha, but he managed to put up Susanoo, the technique of the strongest eyes of the Uchiha clan, Mangyoku Sharingan, the absolute protection of the Uchiha. But even so, this technique did not save Taijima, and he was crushed under the weighty blows of the statue. "No!" Izuna's voice pulled Madara out of his stupor. He, just like his old friend, had just lost his father, The Sharingan spun at a furious speed, revealing 2 new owners of the Mangekyo. It was too painful to lose parents, even if they were cold people with great ambitions, because they were still parents, people who take care of you since childhood. But if they had tried to calm the war, it could have ended less tragically. Report the mission, Takashi said seriously, looking straight into the same black eyes of his daughter. The Uzumaki half-breeds have arrived here. They are now in the scroll as you asked. During the mission we came across 5 shinobi of the Uchiha clan. They were obviously waiting for us and knew how many of us there were, but they did not know about our goal. Perhaps there are moles in the village. We started the battle, during which we were defeated. 2 of our guys were seriously injured. Ichiro sent them to the hospital. The pressure in the room increased greatly. Takashi barely restrained himself from going to Hai no Kuni and wringing the Uchiha's necks. Nothing, he would get even with the traitors. But I was saved by these half-breeds. Using their Jikuken techniques, they moved us all far from the battle site. Then the girls showed good skills in Irian ninjutsu. They also have a summoning technique, fast-spotted cats. They call themselves cheetahs. At these words, Uzuki chuckled, perfectly understanding what kind of animals they were. There was nothing significant further, except for the relationship between Naruto and Naruto. You can see that they do not have a family relationship, but a partnership. At the last words, Mito faltered, not knowing what words to choose for this. The girl's cheeks quickly blushed because of the memories of that incident. I see, Takashi nodded slightly dejectedly. After all, Toussaint was right about them. Because of this, he did not notice how Mito's face turned red with shame. Print them out here and take a blood test before they wake up. I want to know who their ancestor is on their mother's side, and if they have relatives here. After that, leave us alone. Yes, Toussaint? Chapter 13. Serious Conversation. Sometimes life gives you surprises that no book can. Jiraiya's book didn't have the same plot twists as your life. But no matter what surprises await you, no matter what losses you suffer, don't push away the people who want to help you with your problems. Don't make my mistake, Gaki. Your Ba-chan. Tsunade Senju. I woke up in some room, at least until I focused my gaze. I couldn't say for sure. Squinting, I looked around. Naruto and I were apparently in the village head's office, and we were sitting on one of 2 sofas. The second sofa was opposite us, and between them was a low table with a tea set. To the side of the sofas was the Uzuki's desk with a large pile of papers, and behind it was a large window overlooking the village. The room was somewhat similar to the Hokage's office. And only now I noticed 2 figures sitting on opposite sofas. My eyes no longer hurt, and I was able to calmly focus on them. If I'm not mistaken, in our Anbu archives it was written about them. Takashi Uzumaki, the first Uzuki, and his father, the clan head, Ashina Uzumaki. I didn't expect Mito Uzumaki to betray us and seal us after we saved them. Now I was irritated and angry at her. No, most likely she was on a mission, but she could still choose not to do it. Now we need to think about how to get out of this situation dry, and most importantly save Naruto, because I don't know what they can do to us. While I was thinking about escape options, old man Ashina spoke. Looks like you recognized us, he nodded. Can he really read minds? No, it can't be. Even a censor of such a level as Kurama could at most feel emotions using chakra fluctuations, and they didn't have anything written about telekinesis in their library. Well, not that I read minds, it's all written on your forehead. I perked up. Is he reading me through my mask of calm? Okay, calm down, Naruto. You're already 30-something, you were an ANBU captain, so pull yourself together and make the most impartial face. Okay, Naruto, let's start our conversation. But first I want to apologize for sealing you. Uzuki tactfully took the conversation into his own hands. Looking at my attempts to remain calm, we will ask you a couple of questions, and you will answer them for us. You don't have to lie. You won't be able to anyway. Of course. Naruto nodded her head actively. It seems she doesn't care at all that we were betrayed once. Look how carefree she is. And then Uzuki's last words reached her stop. How will you feel a lie? Empathy? I suggested. It seems they are very good censors, since they can feel such chakra fluctuations, and this explains how Ashina realized that I recognized them. I thought that Mito's empathy appeared because she was Kurama's Jinchuriki, but it turns out that everything was different. cunning foxes who kept their secret even after Mito screwed up. You quickly solved the mystery of the main branch, and just by a carelessly spoken word, Takashi slightly tilted his head in surprise, looking at us. But Ashina was pleased with something. Okay, now, tell us your story from the very beginning, and why did you want to come here? About 5 years ago, we lost all our friends and relatives, after which we ended up in the land of fire. Then, for lack of any other choice, we began to live in one clearing, where the Senju found us. There we came to an agreement with them and were able to live peacefully all these years, even carried out a couple of missions for them, due to the specifics of our skills, but in the end they kicked us out. And then my sister suggested that we settle in our mother's homeland, that is, in Uzushio. I see, and who are your parents? Takashi said seriously, but I did not expect this question, although I should have, and why did I forget about it? Our father is Minato Namikaze, and our mother is Kushina Uzumaki. So, what a strange question. What if there are no Uzumaki Kushina here? We haven't had any Uzumaki named Kushina for the past 70 years, and I don't think those could have given birth to you, since they were in the village. Takashi smiled. Why was he smiling? I was frantically looking for an answer. Naruto's eyes were also darting around in search of a solution to this issue and an escape. I had almost broken the seal. If anything, with one release of chakra I can break it, and then teleport us away from here, especially if they have nothing to do with the main family. Please tell me, how did you end up being my great-great-grandchildren? Oh no, how could I forget that my mother is from the main family? They seem to have already taken our chakra and blood for analysis. Ahahaha, Ashina and Takashi laughed. Although, looking at our sour expression, they can be understood. We were so easily seen through. I didn't think that I would see my distant descendants so quickly. And how did you end up in the past? Now we want to hear the real story, my children. Takashi, called an Anbu captain, winked at us cheerfully, the first time he was caught so quickly. But I don't understand their reaction. They should have a range of feelings to such a statement, starting with disbelief and ending with anger, but not joy or fun. We are from a parallel future, and from different ones. I decided to tell them everything at once. No, of course I could hide everything from them. However, I want to finish with this as quickly as possible, so I started my story from the beginning of my life to its end, omitting only some details, like the fact that we were Jinchuriki. I also told about the hatred of the whole village, pushing it onto personal matters. About my life during the academy and after it, I explained some things. About Kakurazado, which they most likely have already started building, described my journey with my godfather. Then my speech smoothly flowed about the war against Madara, the Ten Tails and Kagaya, about my life as an ANBU and how I ended up here. Naruko picked up my baton and told her story, in general terms, and only the differences between our worlds. At the end of our 3 to 4 hour monologue, Ashina and Takashi were confused. They could not even imagine that we would say so much. I see, and what happened to our clan? You just never said anything about it, and how could my great-granddaughter, who is not yet alive, leave our village? Takashi spoke up. And why did you decide to come here voluntarily? Well, Naruko hesitated. Your village was destroyed in both of our worlds, the remnants of the clan scattered all over the world, and our mother moved to Konoha, and we think that this will happen in this world too, so we came here to help prevent it. At the words about the destruction of the village, both of our interlocutors frowned. It is understandable, after all, this is their home. A coalition of 3 hidden villages came out against you, with the support of even more small ones. The village hidden in the leaf located in Hai no Kuni, the village of the hidden mist located in Nizu no Kuni, and the village of the hidden cloud located in Kaminari no Kuni became their leaders. It was a blitzkrieg attack. You did not have a chance. I see, Takashi said after some time of thinking, and then he turned his gaze to his father, silently talking to him. Ashina nodded. Then we must fix this. You will help us with this as those who know the future. This is not up for discussion, so tomorrow we will talk with the whole family about this. But for now we will settle you in the village. Why should we help those who sealed us and interrogated us for our help? I snorted. Yes, I told them everything, but let them decide the issue themselves now. After their betrayal, I don't even want to stay here. Let's say I gave them a handout in the form of information, and now I can leave. And what would you have done in our place? Ashina raised an eyebrow. You can run away from anywhere. I had to be cunning. That doesn't justify you, old man, Naruto chuckled, agreeing with me. In extreme cases, you could have met us near the bridge and tested our loyalty. Empathy allows it. Come on, it's more fun that way, Takashi chuckled. Ashina picked up on his joy and also laughed. This knocked the ground out from under my feet. Do they not take us into account at all? Calm down, Naruto, what have you lost? Ashina seemed to feel angry and decided to speak out. Nerves. We can restore them. Trust in you. Should you have trusted us? The desire to be here. I don't know what to say anymore. These devils are simply impossible. What kind of answers are these? You will have it. Okay, Naruto sighed in defeat. It's impossible to have a normal conversation with them. Just like with her mother, we accept your offer, but we have our own house, Takashi-sama, Ashinadano, and we would like to open it far from the village. We are used to living as hermits. The men exchanged glances. You can settle on the neighboring island. It is larger than this island and is not inhabited by our clan, although it is located on the territory of Yuzuno-kuni. And why is it not inhabited? Naruto was surprised. Because this island is enough for us, Ashina explains patiently, although, considering his approximate age, I am sure that this man is very patient and knows how to wait. We are not greedy for land, and the other islands are needed if we populate this island completely, so you can take any place on that island and as much land as you want, just don't go too far. The old man smiled good-naturedly, as did the Uzuki, who repeated his father's facial expression. I see, and what about the secrets of our clan? You will not appropriate our clan as your subclan? After all, we have the secrets of your clan. I was curious about this, because if Naruto and I want to declare our clan, then we will have to become an independent Ikizoku and buy land from the daimyo of some country and settle there. And about him, where are our clanmates? Patience, my boy. Takashi sipped his tea, savoring its taste. About secrets and the clan. No, we do not need a dissatisfied people, and by appropriating someone else's, we will not achieve peace among our own, so all this is yours. But we would like you to give us the scrolls with the secrets of our clan. What you have studied we cannot confiscate, nor forbid you to share knowledge, but about the rest you will have to forget. Now the next question. We have a patriarchy, so your wife from the Uzumaki clan will go to your clan, but your children will be purebred Uzumaki, no matter how much you want it. About this, do not be afraid. I do not think that he will need such information. Naruto interrupted him, because he had already gone in the wrong direction, but an unkind look cooled her ardor. I didn't like it, and had to cover her with my shoulder, showing that she should talk to me, not her. Forgive me. It's okay. Takashi sighs, realizing what a stalemate he is in now. I really was drawn to the wrong place. Regarding your clanmates, we found the Namikaze family in the Land of Lightning. Tomorrow we will discuss with you everything regarding today's information, and only after that will you be allowed to go for your clanmates. I see. Then if there are no more questions, may I take my leave? I tactfully do not allow an awkward silence to form, to which Takashi smirks. Yes, Takashi, send our shinobi with them so that they will show where they will live. Ashina smiled good-naturedly, ending our conversation here. Chapter 14. New place. Son, I am the one who should be held responsible for everything that happened back then. It's all my fault. I left you an orphan back then. I should have protected you and your mother so that she would be your anchor. Forgive me. But now, even after losing everything, you have found a second chance. And I believe that you can achieve more. Just don't give up. And good luck to you. Minato Namikaze. Father said that he believes in me, Naruto thought with a wide smile. As soon as Naruto and I left the residence, a crimson-haired girl of about 25 years old approached us. Her hair was braided into a high ponytail, and her emerald eyes, along with a wide smile, sparkled with mischief. She introduced herself as Fumika and was an elite-class kunoichi. It turns out that here in Uzushio, there were 3 classes of shinobi, elite, middle and junior, something like the ranks in Konoha, and were given as a reward for strength by the Uzuki himself. However, I wasn't that interested in that. I was more interested in the village itself. It was beautiful. Wherever you looked, there were multi-story gray houses, beautiful green gardens and playgrounds for children, where life was in full swing. In our world, they started building such houses only towards the end of my life, and then behind the Hokage mountain, they said that there would be a new city there. Although, considering that islanders live here, and they had to save space from the very beginning, it's not surprising. But it's worth admitting that the central area, where all the infrastructure was located, was made, original, after all, to make an even smaller island inside the island with the main buildings of the village. Very interesting. There is even a wide main street leading to the island area. It seems that all the Uzumaki festivals and holidays are held here. After all, no one knew about their culture and Jinsei no Ishi*, and I would have liked to have seen their celebrations. Looking at all this, it becomes sad that this village in our world was destroyed. I wish I was born in it. It seems that I am not the only one thinking about this, since the blonde next to me had almost the happiest face she has ever had. So I made a mental oath to myself that I will protect this place, these people and their carelessness, for the sake of Naruto, because it is clear that she will not leave this place, and without her I will not go anywhere. While we were frankly turning our heads and looking at the village, although you can't call it that, it's a whole city, we arrived at the edge of the island. In the distance, another island was visible, and it seems to me that they want to settle us there. But why is there no bridge between the islands? Forgive us, Namake-sama, Fumiko smiled cheerfully, and I could only raise an eyebrow in amazement. We don't have a bridge between the islands yet, but they told me about your technique. I'm embarrassed to ask for help from guests, but it would be faster. I see, I snorted. It seems that the Uzumaki themselves want to see this technique, but without the scrolls they still won't understand anything, not Tobarama, who made this technique based on the summoning technique. So good luck to them. I had to get a kunai and throw it slightly upward, saturating it with futon chakra. Of course it won't fly, but after a couple of moments I teleport to it and intercept it, simultaneously throwing the kunai again. Now it will definitely fly to the island, but for now, I calmly fall from a bird's eye view into the sea. As soon as there are a few milliseconds left before diving into the water, I teleport to the kunai and am satisfied to notice that it is stuck in the ground as it should be. Jukuken Kekiai, Hashi after the signal, I folded several seals at the same time with Naruto and created a spatial bridge. It was square and had a size of 3 by 3 meters. There I was able to see their images through the same technique, and a second later Naruto, together with the stunned Fumiko, calmly entered it, moving straight to me. How much longer will it stand? Naruto asked, grinning cheerfully. No wonder Fumiko had such a face, the secret of the clan. Having said it, he looked at her with displeasure. Does she really want to know about it right now? Although, from her facial expressions you can understand that she wants to brag to her new acquaintance. By the way, I had to bring her out of her prostration. Fumiko-san, can I just call you Fumiko? Without any suffixes? Erara, Naruto, of course you can. The aloe-haired girl smiled after a minute of shock. Naruko-heim, you can too, if anything. Well then don't add heim to my name. She snarled angrily. I had to forcibly suppress a grin. I remember how she ran after me so that I wouldn't dare call her Naruchan or Naruheim. Okay, Fumiko easily agreed. Where are we going? Well, we were allowed to settle anywhere, so I wanted to print our house right by the seashore. Erara, Fumiko burst out laughing, which made her cover her mouth with her hand, and then put it to her cheek. Well then you are in the wrong direction. There is a good place in the northwest of the island. It would be better if you settled there. But are you sure about your decision? After all, then you will have to create a clan quarter right there. And here Naruto and I froze, because really, if we find those Namakes, then we will not be alone, and then we will have to agree with their wishes. Then, let's have a place near the shore. Naruto proudly raised her nose, not wanting to retreat. Fumiko and I snorted in unison, and then we all laughed together. After we checked in, Fumiko took her leave, and I suspect she went to give a report to Uzukage, but no matter, as we asked, we were given a place not far from the seashore in a wide clearing. We immediately began to unseal the house, and I also sent clones to inspect the entire island. What can I say? It really is bigger than Uzumaki Island, and you can build 2 to 3 canoas here. There is one river along the island, a lake in the middle, and a mountain closer to the northern border. So, how do you like it here? Naruto asked me. After unsealing the house, we washed up, changed into light-colored home clothes and ate, and now we were sitting on the couch. Well, how we sat. Naruto was sitting and reading a scroll of chakra frequency theories, and I was lying on her lap and admiring her concentrated face, simultaneously sorting through her long hair. Honestly, if it were up to me, we'd leave this place and go back to living in peace and quiet, I muttered and shrugged vaguely. Well, Naru, okay. To be honest, the people here are pretty sociable and cheerful. The village itself is big, although it doesn't reach the Konoha of our childhood, even after Kurama's attack. There were more houses, like people, there. It's understandable, she chuckled. After all, only one clan lives here, and there are so many clan ones, and no fewer clanless ones, and even civilians. Yes, as I understand it, the lands of Yuzuno Kuni include only 2 or 3 islands, and this is despite the fact that there are 8 of them around the Harana Gulf, one of which is 5 to 6 times larger than this island, so there are no problems with the land here, because those islands are not officially assigned to anyone. And what about our territory? How much space will we take up? Naruto involuntarily pulled her hand to her flat stomach, but quickly pulled herself back. However, I saw it, but kept silent. After all, we are going to revive the clan. PFF, I want to laugh at this statement, and I can't help it. PFFPH fa fa ha ha ha. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wipe away a tear, looking at the angry Naruto. Don't be afraid, darling, the clan will take a long time to recover. Considering that there are only 2 of us families, a small plot of land will be enough for us, but in order to earn money without missions, we need to start trading, or somehow get by. The girl thought about this, giving me the opportunity to admire her. You understand that we will have to interfere with the natural course of things. We need to elevate Uzushio to unprecedented heights. So I'm not going to stand aside and bargain. She raised her hand enthusiastically. Maybe we should forget about Uzushio? Why should we protect those who invite people to their village, and then seal them in order to interrogate them? I tried to press her sense of justice, but it seemed that she was thinking in a completely different direction. And leave my mother's family to die? I don't want to find a little mother in 30 or 40 years, depressed and devastated because of the loss of her homeland and family. Don't talk nonsense, Naruto. She frowned, throwing an angry look at me. But they could. Yes, Naruto, you understand their motives. Stop being paranoid. I've tried so many times to knock all this out of your head, she barked in absolute anger. We could even have saved little Atama if we had helped Senju back then. I wouldn't risk you for some Senju, I already shouted, getting up from her lap. I care about you, but it's like you don't understand it. Some Senju? She asked dejectedly. The previous anger disappeared and she lowered her head. You know, after a few months of communication, he became like a younger brother to me. I saw a grown-up Menma in him. I even wanted to stay with Senju for Ida-chan's sake. She raised her teary eyes to me, and I shuddered. I had never seen such strong pain in her gaze. Forgive me, please forgive me, my conscience painfully stabbed me, and I tried to change the subject. You told me about something I already forgot. Yes, let's forget about it. Wiping away her tears, she said, then smiled, not falsely, but weakly. I said that I did not want to stand aside and just bargain. I already thought about this before coming to the village. I nod, perfectly understanding what she means. No matter how much I wanted to leave them to their fate or not help them, my conscience in front of Naruto will not allow it. Have you decided something yet? Her eyes light up with fire, and then squint, looking at me calculatingly. During all this time, she began to think and calculate more. These changes in behavior excited my whole being, especially when you understand that she was always adjusting to you, and now from a loud and cheerful kunoichi, she became calculating and patient. And when she looks at me like that, she decides something herself, and I will be drawn into it anyway, if only I could find out what. Yes, I decided. I nod importantly and make pauses. Tomorrow I will tell everything in the presence of the ruling family. Hey, she began to be indignant, But I shut her up, damn it, the best way to combine business with pleasure. But in the end I had to reluctantly let go and sit next to her. It pisses me off when you do that. She muttered back to me. This is my forgiveness for the previous one, I said plaintively. Okay, let's get back to the last question. I'll just say that first we need to bring order among the Uzumaki. Trade, training, ranks, missions and all that stuff, and after that I want to add a couple of clans here. I see, I had about the same plan. She nods and looks at the clock near the door. It's time to sleep. We'll discuss the rest tomorrow, she said, kissing me on the lips, went to the bathroom. While walking she swayed her hips hinting at something. I just had to shrug my shoulders and follow her. Chapter 15. The Uzuki family. My sunshine. My beautiful child. Please stop living like this, it breaks my heart. Every time I see your pain, it hurts me too, because you are my son. How I want to be near you and comfort you. But you already have a person who is capable of this, do not push it away. When you were just born, then I said that a lot of pain and suffering awaits you. How I wanted to be wrong. But the past cannot be returned, just as your friends cannot be returned. Please, my angel, remember who you are. And fight. Fight your pain, fight for your new bonds, and fight for your dream. After all, you are the son of the great bloody Habanera and the yellow lightning of Konoha. I love you, my little fox. Kushina Uzumaki. I stretch and look at the clock. It's 7 in the morning. Naruto is still snoring next to me, so I quietly get up and wash my face. Half an hour later, I'm sitting downstairs in the kitchen, calmly eating the scrambled eggs and sandwiches I made. If I want to raise the whirlpool, then I need to act quickly. Soon the hidden villages will be built and the clans will stop squabbling in their countries. And also Kurozetsu, we need to get rid of him, like the Uchiha tablets, so that no one else knows about the 10 tails. If the tablets left by Otsutsuki Hagoromo are not a big problem, then Kurozetsu is not just a problem, it is a real disaster that must be eliminated quickly, because it is beneficial for him to destroy the aloe-haired. You never know, they will find a technique capable of sealing his mother even after her release. God, why is it with him that such problems occur? I quietly hit my head in the hope of coming up with something reasonable. What happened? A sweet voice whispered next to my ear, which made me shudder. I, as an Anbu captain, was humiliated for the second time. First they completely read me and negotiated with me not on my terms, then they snuck up on me in such a way as to catch me off guard. Well, I'm thinking about how to destroy Kurozetsu. I don't understand why he didn't come to us, because he senses the reincarnation of Ashura's soul, and the appearance of 2 of them at once is not normal. And he should have come to us at least once in all 5 years. I began to rub the bridge of my nose in order to relax. Fortunately, Naruto came to her senses in time and began to treat my head. After all, it's only the beginning of the day and there will be difficult negotiations further, so I thank her for this. Thank you. You're welcome. A sincere smile touches her lips. Regarding Zetsu, I have an idea. Spit it out. You see, in this world there is only one reincarnation of Ashura, and when we appeared, she was busy with Hashirama. Really? I'm a fool, I mumbled, realizing that I hadn't figured out the simplest thing. You want to say that we appeared in this world as a reincarnation of ourselves from another world? Well, that explains everything. I mean, in this world we are not the reincarnation of Ashura Otsutsuki, but the owners of an ordinary soul that we had in the past world, just not purified. Naruto shrugs, finishing his breakfast. At least, that's what I think. There can be many theories. After all, Shinigami-sama and Rikudo-sen sent us here. You're right, but it still doesn't solve the problem with Kurozetsu. Although it's better to think about it at leisure, I nod and start washing the dishes. Takashi-sama's messenger will come for us soon, so get ready. Yeah. As I said, an hour later, closer to 9, a messenger came, or rather it would be better to say came. Fumiko was sent to us again, but by the time she approached the house, we felt her and began to get ready, putting on traditional clothes. After all, although this will be a business conversation, but the custom and all that, Erera, I see you are already ready. Our guest looks at us tenaciously. I suppress the desire to shrug my shoulders. I still can't get used to the wide smile and flirtatious look that infuriates my blonde, although, knowing Naruto, they will soon start chirping about their women they are waiting for you at the Uzuki-sama residence. Let's go. Got it. Naruto smiles cheerfully and, picking us both up, carries us straight to the stunned Uzumaki, who don't keep us waiting long and jump up from their seats, preparing to repel the attack. Hello, we arrived here, I hope on time. Tactfully not noticing what she did, she calmly continues to speak under the wide eyes of the Uzuki and elders. I made the only move I wanted to make at that moment, hit my face with my hand. Forgive my sister for such liberty. I bow slightly and discreetly erase the mark she left. You never know, they might consider it an act of aggression. I haven't yet figured out how to behave with these people, and in general, if they find me, they'll start studying me. I don't need that. Oh, come on! An unknown to me crimson-haired lady waved her hand, looking a little older than Takeshi, but from the similar outline of her face and eyes it was clear that this was his mother. Although it was possible that she was his sister, they still needed to be given a dressing down sooner or later, to which the men snorted indignantly. I agree, it's obvious that they've been sitting on the chair for a long time and doing nothing. My sister nodded her head, after which silence formed. I involuntarily tensed up, but the trembling lips of all the women in the room gave them away. Ahaha! Someone couldn't resist, and everyone picked up this fun and started laughing. In such a mood I also relaxed and smiled. Okay then, Ashina called for silence. It is not surprising, despite his age, he is considered the head of the family, and I am sure that we are now standing in front of the entire main family of the Uzumaki clan. Let's first introduce ourselves. This is my wife and the mother of my sons, Ariza, he said, pointing to the woman I was talking about. Then he pointed to Takeshi, and to the man younger than him. You know Takeshi. He is my eldest son, and this is my youngest son, Yasushi. He stood at the right shoulder of the Uzuki and was much larger, and he was well coordinated. We can confidently say that he is good at weapons. I would give him large swords, the same Kubikura Bocho or Samahata. And this is the wife of my eldest son and the mother of my granddaughter, Nori, he said, pointing to a sweetly smiling miniature girl. She could be given a maximum of 25. If you did not know that she was Mito's mother. Although why am I surprised? In my past life at 29 I look like a 19 to 20-year-old boy. Nori was very similar to Mito, only her hair was tied in a thick braid and the youngest in our circle. Matochka, my favorite granddaughter, although, most likely, you are familiar with her. Grandpa, don't call me that. Mito flares up immediately, and before that she was reserved, and behaved with us in a politely cold manner. Yes, we met on the way. I calmly continue the conversation, deliberately not giving a reason to flare up a quarrel. That's good. Everyone noticed my impulse and smiled broadly, sometimes giggling cheerfully. Don't ignore me! Mito stamped her foot, causing a wave of affection in the elders. I said enough. Did you say something, Mito-chan? I bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. I just applaud Kakashi-sensei. How did he hold on at times like this? You! Her face turned red with anger. Okay, enough. Ashina slammed the table and called for everyone to be quiet. This is certainly funny, but let's get down to business. Forgive me, what a circus this was, although it's not a pity. At least I heard Naruki's sincere laughter. Do they know about our history? Only in general terms. Takeshi took the floor. I raised an eyebrow, urging him to continue. We told them where you came from and who you are to us. I see, then they probably also know what happened to Uzushio in our time? Yes, this time 40-year-old Yasushi took the floor. And we must take measures to prevent this. Ariza said seriously, simultaneously hitting Ashina's hand, who was pulling it to take the sweets. Well, I have some information. I nodded. You probably already received news that Butsuma Senju and Taijima Uchiha died in battle? After all, Megura is a really useful technique, and now I understand how Zetsu got the information so quickly. From where? The men frowned. In principle it is not surprising. They probably only recently received the eagle from Senju. I just left a clone. A secret. I shook my head. The men frowned even more. Do they think that I will spy on them too? Okay. Takeshi reluctantly gave in. but it is clear from his eyes that he will now be watching us with both eyes. And what about us? We don't care about his suspicions, they will soon dissipate anyway, because we really did not come to betray them. Well, so. Chapter 16. Anbu. Well, now Hashirama is at the head of the Senju, and Madara is at the helm of the Uchiha clan. Of course, they won't create Konoha right now, but it will be soon anyway. We need to wait until Izuna Uchiha dies. Naruto frowned at this statement. I don't remember exactly, but in our world Izuna Uchiha didn't die, she said. And this is possible, but this does not change the fact that soon villages will be created, one after another, and an information war against each other will begin, I snapped. Are you suggesting something? Takashi asked, looking at us, who were planning. Now Naruto and I were exchanging glances, discussing some of the ideas, and I accidentally got bogged down in memories. Flashback. I was still working as an Anbu back then, and I had just been appointed captain of my group. At that moment I was allowed to visit the old archives of the Anbu route. There I came across a case from 35 to 40 years ago. After the destruction of Uzumaki, it turns out that my mother was not the only one who got to Konoha. There was a whole delegation of Uzumaki. They fought their way to the leaf. However, Danzo and Hiruzen did not need the aloe-haired devils who could bend the government to their will. They barely restrained Mito Uzumaki alone, so when the delegation almost reached Konoha, the Anbu attacked the delegation of red-haired under the clothes of Kumo's shinobi and killed many except Kushina, and took the rest to the root lab for study. This infuriated me, but I read on. And these documents wrote about the progress of research on those Uzumaki. Of course I knew that Uzumaki were long-lived, however, I thought it was because Uzumaki could easily live to 80 to 90 years, and during the period of clan wars the average life expectancy was 40. But I didn't think that Uzumaki cells age and wear out twice as slowly as those of ordinary people. Therefore, Uzumaki could live to 150 and become a parent at 80. It's simply incredible. But now the logical question? How did Mito Uzumaki live only 70 with a little bit? After all, when she died Hiruzen was almost 40. It turns out everything is simple. She became a Jinchuriki not in childhood, and Kurama took advantage of this and poisoned, although he could not kill, since again, Uzumaki's body did not allow this. All these results simply knocked the ground out from under my feet, and made it clear why this clan was exterminated. Some wanted to get the loyalty of the clan and its concubines, and the rest, on the contrary, did not want anyone to receive anything from them. After all, the same Senju-Uzumaki alliance allowed the Uchiha to be defeated, and if the Uchiha were allies of the scarlet-haired, it would be the other way around, and this is despite the fact that they did not interfere anywhere, but simply traded their fuins cheaper. And everyone understood this, and everyone was afraid of the moment when the Uzumaki would begin to interfere, so they began to act. Then I went into even older root archives, and what I learned there. I wanted to resurrect the four that led Konoha again and kill them myself, those senile people. They betrayed Uzushio for the sake of the clan's secrets, and good seals of their own making. 3 great villages, Kanahigakure, Kirigakure and Kumogakure took Uzushio-gakure into a clinch from 3 sides and slaughtered everyone, dividing the trophies and the women of the clan. And the most offensive thing is that I considered Hiruzen my grandfather, one of the closest people to me. But reality disappointed me. Because of this I wanted to leave the village that betrayed my ancestors. But Konoha did not let me do this either. End flashback. And now, remembering this, I thought, if the Senju brothers had not taken the helm of Konoha, then Konoha would have attacked Uzushio even earlier, and what I cannot assume, some events suggest the idea that we need to start acting right now, because Kumogakure has already begun to exist, and soon they will begin to actively dig under us. Hey, are you asleep there? I am pulled out of my thoughts. Looking around, I notice that the whole family is already sitting and discussing something else. Only Yasushi is looking in our direction. Are you sure, Naruto? Naruto quietly asks his question, to which I nod. We have a proposal that will protect the village. I nod. Attracting everyone's attention, I suggest you create a special ninja squad, and Satsu Senjutsu to Kushibutai or Anbu for short. This is a ninja squad that will restore order behind the village and protect it from the shadows. The ANBU members will be under the control of the Kage of the village, carrying out various assignments and missions on his orders, killing missing nin, tracking down and killing mercenaries, espionage, reconnaissance and information gathering. All of this should be done by ANBU, if we generalize the A and S rank missions that are useful and necessary for the village. And for this, strong shinobi are needed who have good abilities, knowledge, intelligence, and most importantly, they should not disdain to kill, and if necessary, sacrifice themselves by self-destructing, so that if they are captured, they cannot be interrogated. This is cruel, Takashi aptly noted. You understand that then people will not be able to bury their loved ones with dignity? These loved ones may not exist in the future if you don't take such measures, I chuckled. After all, Danzo was right in some ways, however. With age he began to go crazy more and do everything not for the good of the village, but for the good of himself and his ambitions. These people will restore order in the village and will not allow traitors to appear, and even if they do appear, they will be quickly eliminated. But we must also take measures so that they cannot blurt out anything unnecessary, because they know much more. In our time, one old man played with a control seal and a seal of silence. You are masters in this matter. You can slightly change these seals and put them on these people, but so that it does not interfere with their personal life. It will be difficult to do, Takashi sighed tiredly. No wonder, he is already in charge of the whole village. We will think about it. Naruto, wouldn't it be better if you took control of ANBU? Your superior would be Uzuki, and you would be the superior of ANBU, suggested Naruto. After all, you know how it all works, because you were the captain of ANBU for more than 5 years. Just think. 2 unknown shinobi came to the village. Maybe even enemy ones. And the next day they made a serious military reform, creating a special squad of rapid assassination and reconnaissance, and at its head there will be an 18-year-old teenager, who is not even an Uzumaki and whom no one trusts. I mockingly arched an eyebrow. Do you think this is the right decision? Wear a mask, like all ANBU do, she shrugged, and I fell into a drop. And how did I not think of this before? All the same, we are still strangers in this village, I challenged her. And then, we started having family squabbles again. There was shouting and cursing in the room. We were used to it. I would even say that we got hidden pleasure from it. But Uzumaki is not into raised voices, so they sat quietly and were dumbfounded, even as Shina learned a couple of new swear words from Naruto. About loyalty. After a few minutes of our arguments, Takashi decided to take the floor. You will carry out tasks as Uzushio shinobi, but first we need to find out your level, so in about a week we will arrange a demonstration fight for you with our guys. That's not a bad idea, Ariza nodded, and most importantly, our shinobi who will work with you will begin to trust you. I have a couple more ideas, I said thoughtfully. However, we should discuss this later. I pointed towards the window. It was already getting dark there. However, everyone thought that I was pointing towards Mito, who was sitting on the windowsill and swinging her legs. What? She looked at me with confusion, and then at the others. I really wanted to put my hands to my forehead. It seems the elders understood me and just chuckled, although why am I surprised? They are empaths. It's already getting dark, Mito-chan. I drawled the last vowel. If it weren't for the jab in the side from Naruto, I would have continued to mock her. Okay. I raised my hands approximatively, seeing how Mito wanted to start getting indignant, and Naruto just incinerated me with her gaze. We need to go, the blonde said, grabbing me along the way. By the way, Takashi thoughtfully looked at the 3 of us. Until we check your loyalty, we will assign a couple of shinobi to you when you walk around our city. Do you agree? Yes, this is basically normal. But I wonder, they read emotions, and if so, they must understand that before this we did not lie to them, and did not hide anything like that. Maybe there are weaknesses in their empathy? I interrupt my thoughts, and before Naruto does something else, I grab her and teleport. Chapter 17. Sparring with Uzumaki. A week later, they brought us to the arena. It was somewhat similar to the arena in Konoha, where I took the Chunin exam. By the way, I should take note of the idea of rank exams. So, about the arena, When they told us about exhibition fights, I thought there would be a lot of people here, the entire elite class, consisting of several hundred fighters. However, there were only about 30 to 40 people who talked, played, argued and bet on who would win. In general, there was its own atmosphere. In the center of the arena stood Takeshi, Mito and some man of about 20 years old. Although appearances can be deceiving, it looks like he will be my opponent. Matochka, Takeshi smiled slyly. I don't like this smile. Now we will test your abilities, because I received a report on that mission, and I don't like that you almost died in it. Well, father, I asked you not to call me that. The crimson-haired beauty frowned resentfully. Will I have to fight her? A casual nod towards Naruto and the air instantly becomes heavy. It seems, she really touched my sunshine with this action. Even Takeshi appreciated it with a slight shudder. No, I want you to fight Naruto, and you, Naruto, must fight my daughter, but without your movement techniques. Takeshi turned his gaze to me, and I only politely nodded, making it clear that his words were heard. Naruto will fight Makoto Uzumaki, but you can use movement techniques. This distribution interested me very much. If I understood correctly, then in the fight with Mito, they want to see her abilities, and that. Will I be a threat without movement techniques? But with Naruto they sent a strong shinobi, probably so that they would understand her maximum capabilities, and also look at our Jakuken techniques, because the Senju could not send full reports on us if they did not see our training. Even here they planned everything. Bravo! Sly foxes. Whose fight will be first? I decided to play by their rules, so I besieged Naruto with my gaze, who wanted to object to Takeshi and enter the fight with Mito. Makoto and Naruto's fight will be first. The rest of you go up to the waiting room, a slight nod to the side where there were the least people and a small balcony. I had to obey and calmly walk with Mito in the direction Uzuki pointed. 2 Uzumaki were following us on our heels, to protect their Heim. Such protection makes me snort. What kind of protection am I talking about? While I was thinking about it, we reached the waiting room. From this place there was a good view of the arena. In the middle there were 2 people waiting for the command. Right before the start of the fight, Naruto looked at me, silently asking what to do, and in response I gestured to her to show as few abilities as possible, to which she nodded weakly, almost imperceptibly. Let's begin. Uzuki waved his hand and jumped away from the fighters. Suiton, impact whirlpool. Makoto abruptly folded several seals, and a column of water hit Naruto from under the ground. She simply left with the substitution technique. I wonder, high affinity with water, how will Naruto get out of this? And then she threw out shurikens. Our shurikens, which I recently ordered according to my own design, they were a little larger than regular shurikens, but the inside contained movement jutsushiki, and they cannot be noticed, the right choice in such a situation. The enemy sees the shurikens, but simply dodges, simultaneously creating a new technique. Suiton, huge water cannon. A large stream of water gushed from Uzumaki's mouth, which can greatly knock down the enemy and disorient him, a good long-range technique, but Naruto is no longer there. She is standing behind him with a ninjato pointed at him. The fight is over. Takeshi nods casually, although he is still surprised, thinking about how she ended up behind Makoto so quickly. The next opponents are Mito Uzumaki and Naruto Namikaze. Please come down. I am amazed at the Uzumaki people. There are so many of the Uzuki subordinates here, and I am sure that each of them is ready to become a judge. But Takeshi himself is now standing in front of me and judging us, instead of sitting with his family and watching the fight. The people themselves are sitting and watching us. The first fight ended too quickly, and it was frankly boring, so people are impatiently waiting for me to fight Mito, hoping for her victory. Are you ready? Mutual nods begin. We continued to look each other in the eyes. I folded my arms across my chest and stood in Madara's favorite pose. My face turned to stone, and if I had a Sharingan, it would have flared up. But it seems Mito still hasn't recovered from her last meeting with Uchiha, and she recognized this gesture, so her face distorted into a grimace of anger, and she decided to teach me a lesson. Suiton, water projectile, she quietly whispered. I read it on her lips and stood further. At that moment when the projectile was too close, I mentally said Megura and fell through the ground, literally and figuratively, because Mito began to look around, scanning the area at the same time. Only a few noticed how I went underground, including Takeshi, because he was impermissibly close, ensuring his daughter. Underground, I decided to create a clone and entertain the enemy. The clone came out of the ground unharmed and cast a mocking glance at Mito. She seemed to understand that I could do this until the end of the day, and tried her luck in Kenjutsu. Having taken the Tekudo out of the seal, she suddenly appeared next to the clone. The choice of weapons slightly surprised the clone, but he quickly gathered himself and took out 2 3-bladed kunai. Everyone in the arena began to wait for an interesting fight in Kenjutsu, because they knew that Mito was trained by her uncle, the best swordsman in the whirlpool. However, I decided to play a dirty trick on the Heim clan, and on the way to the clone I grabbed her leg and buried it underground, making it intangible. Grabbed, the second leg fell through. I pulled again, and again the left leg was underground. "What is this?" she squealed when I did it for the third time. Each time her leg simply fell into the ground, not letting her reach the laughing clone. After the scream, I decided that she had enough, so when she felt freedom, she pounced with all her fury on the clone, who decided to die a brave death. The shocked faces when Mito hit the still laughing clone right in the heart, I will not forget, but a moment later the clone disappeared with a loud poof. And I came out of the ground and put the katana near the girl's neck. Everyone was surprised by this, and Mito looked askance at the blade and admitted defeat. "I give up." "That's it, Naruto, let go of the weapon," Takeshi said. He liked the performance. So now someone was dancing in front of his eyes. What kind of technique is this? "Which one?" I folded the seal of reconciliation of Mito, to which she snorted, but under the gaze of her father she performed this action, and then we went towards Ashina and the others. On the way, a sarcastic Naruto approached us, who shot her eyes at the embarrassed Mito. After all, didn't I disgrace her too much? Although in fact, a little revenge for that sealing. "That technique with which you fell underground? This is not an underground decapitation. I know this technique. It was impossible to feel you underground. And that clone, this is not an illusory clone." Takeshi is just bursting with curiosity. I look at Naruto, who is looking at me tensely, thinking whether I will trust her or not. Okay, I will satisfy her desire. After all, now we are allies with Uzumaki. This is the technique of my Kekkei Genkai Mukiten, the release of intangibility. For example, I took a regular shuriken and threw it above myself, and when the shuriken was supposed to hit me on the head, it passed through me. The faces of everyone who saw this simply cannot be described in words. Even Ashina's face stretched out and her eyes became 5 kopecks. Naruto even laughed at this. This is what brought people back from the state they were in. And the second technique, the shadow cloning technique. I see, so this technique was learned by Butsumakun's youngest son. Ashina thoughtfully stroked his beard, and then turned his gaze to Takeshi and frowned. It seems they are agreeing on something. Decided. Uzuki attracted everyone's attention, even Naruto and Nori, who were arguing about the Iri ninjutsu, stopped talking and turned their gaze to Takeshi. "Today you can be free. Tomorrow you will come early to the Uzuki residence to receive a mission regarding your clanmates. In the evening you will be given the armor that the elite shinobi of our village wear." "Thank you," Naruto and I looked at each other in confusion, but did not argue, because it was strange on their part that they did not give us loyalty missions. Although, I should not have been surprised, we passed so many of their checks that they could at least skip this step. "Can we walk around the city and shop in the stores?" "Yes, Mito and Ichiro will accompany you. You can have a good rest." And after the Uzuki family left, and only his daughter and the Uzumaki we saved remained with us. Well, maybe then we should start with an introduction? But before that, how we met was somehow awkward.